I've been in the music business all my life. I started playing music when I was 13 or 14 years old. And I first met Beverly when I built my first recording studio. Richard came in, and Larry, and Beverly, and they recorded their first song. I was a real novice. I didn't know much about the equipment, but we did record a song anyways. And I remember that she had played piano, and I really liked the way she played. You know? And then while Richard was singing and Larry was singing in the other room, she was in the control room with me, and Richard was recording a song, Lovely Senorita, from Mexico Way. And right next to me was a lovely senorita that I was very interested in getting to know. You know. She was really pretty, and she was a gem. I found it to be very, very warm, and I asked her what she did, you know, besides sing. I said, "You guys sing all the time?" She said, "Well, you know, I'm here to help. I'm here to help." But she told me that she was decorating a house. I said, "For Christmas?" And she goes, "No, I'm just decorating a house, like I'm redecorating." It was kind of like a really big house that her aunt had, if I remember, it was the aunt, right? And she said, and she was redoing a lot of the stuff, you know, she was going to put in a chandelier and all that stuff. And it's the only time that I saw her. But I'll tell you that from an individual who didn't know her at all, I was very, very impressed with her charm. And she was a beautiful girl. I was single. At the time. You know, but I guess she married a doctor. She'd do a lot better than marrying a musician. But so on behalf of the music community, I want to offer the condolences of all the musicians. We sent out some emails. A lot of them have contacted us saying that they just couldn't make it, but they wanted to offer their condolences to the family.
Thank you.
And my relationship with the family continued after that. With Larry did some stuff, and mainly with Richard. Richard recorded a lot of albums, I don't know, 6 or 7 albums, and he sells records all over the world through Apple iTunes. And Richard and I have become really, really good friends. And it reflects on the entire family. Richard has always been there for me. And when I needed something, I run short of money. I said, "Richard, can you help me? I need like $50. And he goes, "You sure you don't need more?" And often he's done that for me like a lot. But there's one little story which is an example of Richard's dedication, and he was the one mainly that I interacted with last year, probably in October. I sell radio and television jingles, and I was in Augusta at the Augusta Stove Shop, and my daughter-in-law called. She was pregnant, and she's probably like in her 8 month, 8.5, something like that. She called me and she said, "I'm having pains." And I go, "Okay." We go to the hospital. So, "Well, Emmanuel's not here. He's in Gray, and I don't have any money for a taxi." And I said, "Well, if it's that close, call an ambulance." I said, I'm all the way up in North Augusta. No, I'm not gonna. They were like half an hour apart or something. I'm not gonna get there, you know. And there was nobody that I could. I tried to call my brother. There was nobody. And I called Richard. I said, "Richard, I'm in a real bad position. I need your help. What are you doing right now?" He said, "I'm under the house trying to deal with frozen pipes." And I'm thinking, well, okay, Richard, you've got your hands full. I'm not gonna worry about it. He said, "What's the problem?" And I told him the situation with my sister, my daughter-in-law, and he said, "I'll be there." I said, "Richard, you got enough problem?" He said, "I'll be there." And I called her and said, "Richard Gowell is coming." And you know, he went and he took care of it. And Richard has done a lot of that. Sometimes I was on the road and I was longer than I expected, and he would come and get my significant other and take her to a doctor's appointment. He's done a lot of that. I couldn't count it. So enough to say that often we've heard the expression that your friends, you can count your real friends on one hand. Well, Richard is on that hand. And that goes for the rest of the family because they've always been there as well. So God bless you. And I know it's a difficult time, but God is with us. God is with us, and He will, and a good always comes out of this.
Amen. Amen. God bless you. Thank you. Is there someone else that would like to share a special memory? Okay, Richard.
I guess I'm up to bat, I guess. Well, I'm not going to get into a whole lot of stories about Beverly, but there's so many of them. I could go on for a long time. I'm just going to bring just a few little anecdotes that I, with Beverly, if you know Beverly, she's quite the gal, and I live next door to her, down to the next house in Auburn, lives up on the hill. We talk almost every day, maybe more than once a day. And she's always, you know, knowing Beverly, you know, she's always got a calamity or something going on, something happened, but it's not usually it turns out to be rather trivial, but to her it's a big deal at the time. And things like losing her keys, you know, to her van. She's probably got 4 or 5 sets of keys. But she calls me, I can't find my keys, come on up and help me. So I'd shoot up, and you know, it's only about 50 yards. I'd shoot up, we look for the keys. I know I got a set here somewhere, and find out, can't find any keys. She's got 4 sets, can't find one. So I look over to her purse. You want to call it purse. Probably weighs about 50 pounds. And I said, we're going to look through that? She said, I knew that she had a set of keys in there for sure. So after we looked around, we tried every other angle, finding the keys. But we finally lifted it up, and we get a hernia just picking it up, you know, so heavy. But sure enough, after we dump everything out, we find the keys, and I bail her out so she could go on with it. You know, if you know she has a Dodge Ram van, a lot of you know that. And that was her baby. She had that for, I don't know, 15, 16 years. It was like 80-something, but it's in pretty good shape. But those things, small things like that, she'd call on me quite a bit, and Larry too, because we live next door. But one thing about Beverly, it's been said, she was like Santa Claus, and there's no question about that. I don't know another woman that could do that. Nobody. I mean, nobody, you know, nobody in their right mind anyway would, you know, be giving presents to kids she doesn't know, and maybe the grandchildren, children of the children of the children she's giving presents to. So it's kind of tribute to her that she was like that, you know. So that's just a few things I'd like to say. There's a lot more, but I loved her dearly. It'll be tough.
Thank you.
I didn't come expecting to talk.
Well, you can talk, we
But-
know that.
But I didn't, growing up, I knew Richard and Larry more than Bev. Bev was older, and when you're a little kid, 10 years is a big difference. But she would come to school and take orders. She had her own business going, and she seemed like such a worldly business person, because she'd come in and she had this Italian sandwich business going, and she'd drive her own car, and she'd come in, and she just seemed like she was so much older and more mature. But I really got to know Bev when they were in Brunswick, and we had babies at the same time, and I don't think I'm betraying her confidence, but she told me once that she had been told she should never have children, and she said that she really felt it was like a miracle of God that she had her boys.
Yeah.
And she just felt that was such a, she just loved those little boys. And she was so patient. I don't know, now that I'm older, I think I'm a little gentler with my grandchildren, but I was probably a little rough with my kids. And she was such a good mother. And I just remember, there's a picture in my head, because we were over there for dinner once, and Eric was walking on it seemed like a precipice. And he was really high off the ground, and it was like a 2-story drop, and he was walking on it like a balance beam. And Bev walked by, and she hardly looked at him, and she said, Eric, I don't think you should do that. But it just always, I could just see that. She was so patient. And another memory is she was, like you said, so generous, and she befriended Ed and I in the Brunswick Church, and she'd have us to dinner, and just she really, well, Eric I think cooked a lot.
Oh, yes.
I think but she'd made this pie, and I said, what is in this pie, Bev? And she said, it's pears. She said, there's a little pear tree on the road coming out here, and I stopped and I picked all the pears off it, and I made pies with it. So that was my only time I ever had pear pie. It was Beverly. But,
They're very rich, they're beautiful, thank you.
Sympathies to the family. I'm Bob Willett. I lived down the road from Eric and Bev.
Yeah.
And my wife worked for the doctor for many years, and I used to go up and snowblow the yard for them. And but I'd get to go in and get a chance to talk to her, you know. And I thought she was a pretty good cook. She cooked quite a bit when I was there, and she really loved her sons. I mean, she took care of that family like no other. And she would always put them first, and that's how she lived her life. You know, and she'd take care of the doctor, whatever, you know, she knew the doctor liked to eat good food, and she would make sure he would, you know, and she would buy, you know, the fruits and vegetables and whatever it took, you know. And I'd drop her off stuff from my garden, and they would just, you know, live life to its fullest. And to me, you know, she was pretty special, you know. I wouldn't get to talk to her very long sometimes, but, you know, she was always thinking about taking care of somebody else. Always. And I don't care what the boys did. She would take them in just like it was another day, you know. And your mom was, she was like an angel. You know, and what I say is, keep her memory strong, and don't stop talking about her. Smile and laugh with her, because she's there as long as we'll be. You know, and the same thing with the doctor. You know, he's got to smile and think about her and think of the good times.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's not what the bad you've done or the wrong you've done, or no, like you say, nobody's perfect, but live life to the fullest, and keep her right there every day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.